Hi, welcome to Ice of Cosmetology video number 2, and today we're going to be doing the 45-degree layered haircut. It's a continuation from the 0 level, and that's the basis where we start all our haircuts at. So you will need shears, a water bottle, a cutting comb, 4 clips, and of course hand sanitizer. I've already caped my client before the service because we've already done the 0 level haircut. So again, I make sure that I sanitize my hands before I touch my client. Make sure you go onto the palms, over the tops, and every finger. You do not want to miss any hand sanitizing. Okay, once we've done that, we're going to start to section our mannequin. And this is a little bit of a different way of sectioning. What we do is we're going to create a couple of different sections. We are going to first create a mohawk section in the front of the face. That goes from the apex down to the edge of the brow on either side of the head, creating almost a rectangular shape in the center of the hair. All the way up, and we're going to create a twist and loop section. Twist and loop. Section number 1. Section number 2 will be on either the right or the left side. I'm going to choose the right first, and we go from the apex. I'm going to continue that line straight down to behind the right side of the ear. So as you can see, the parting comes from the top apex part of the head, reaching across the crown and continuing to the back of the right ear with a loop and twist technique. After we remove that hair by combing it gently to the back, we do our last sectioning in the front, which is from the apex again to behind the ear, where you would see also a continuing parting across the whole crown of the head, continuing on to the sides. A loop and a twist. And we will start working in the back now. You can use your extra clip to section off parts of the hair as we're cutting the back. Okay. When you're cutting the back of the hair, you want to push the mannequin forward. And again, we are going to begin at the apex and crown of our head. And we're going to take a 1-inch section from the top to create our traveling guideline, as opposed to a stationary guideline, which is only to be used in a horizontal, blunt to 0 level haircut. All layered haircuts have traveling guidelines. You're going to take the first inch, creating a neat parting, pulling this hair straight out from the direction of hair growth and measuring off to the edge of the comb so that the comb and your fingertips meet at the exact point. This is where you would start your first cut for your traveling haircut, traveling guideline. Okay, and as you can see, you pull it from the direction of hair growth, pulling it in between your fingers, measuring against the comb, and there it is. You're going to use this and split it in half and take this piece that's already been cut, pulling your hair in the direction of hair growth now, and then cutting it up to meet the edge. Dropping half of that and coming down here. Again, the direction of hair growth now is out at this direction. You're going to pull until you see that first cut, which is right there at the top, and that's where you're going to cut. Now, as I'm coming down here to the last section, I can use my extra clip to hold this hair back that I'm not working with at the time. I still have some of my traveling haircut line in here, and I'm grasping the hair in the bottom and pulling it in the direction of hair growth. As I pull down in between my fingers, I have to wait until the bottom drops out. When I see the bottom drop out, that's when I stop and cut the hair from that point. You never cut the perimeter of the hair twice. Now this will be my traveling guideline. Now I have enough hair to split this in half, combing half of the guideline onto the right and half of the guideline onto the left. We're going to deal with one side at a time. Again, combing all the hair down, I'm going to take this top section locate my guideline that is traveling first, which is my cut hair, which is right there. And that's where I start cutting again. It's very visible when you start cutting where the cut lines are previously. I'm going to divide this again into 2 subsections. Doesn't have to be exact, but it has to be noticeable. I'm grabbing this entire piece of hair, pulling it straight out in the direction of hair growth, and there is my cutting line right there. And that's where I cut everything to. Dropping half of that, coming down and grasping the next group of hair, pulling it straight out in the direction of hair growth, locating my guideline, which is right there, and cutting it. You'll always be able to see your guideline as you're cutting the hair, but if you don't, just take a little bit more from that top section, the previously cut section. Again, this is my hair that I am working with now. I wait till the first section drops, and there it goes, it dropped, and that's where I know to cut moving upward. At this point, I will grab some extra hair just to make sure that my guideline is perfect, and it is very good. And now this piece is done. Now I'm going to my last section of hair, which is right on this far right in the back. Again, pulling it out to the direction of hair growth and cutting up until that first cut line that I've already made. As I move down the hair towards the neck, I'm grasping the hair tightly between my 2 fingers and cutting everything that exceeds them. Again, the bottom piece of hair, I pull it down in the direction of hair growth and wait till that bottom piece drops out. Once you drop the piece of hair, you can cut at that point. Being very careful not to cut past your second knuckle. My right side is done, and now I move over to my left side. I am cutting layers. These are considered long layers. This is a 45-degree haircut. And this is the second part of the State Board haircut for New York. Okay, I easily found my guideline, but again, if you can't find your guideline, just take a little bit more hair from the area you previously cut. Using half of the hair that I'm sectioning off as the guideline for the hair in front of it. Half of the hair gets put away, and if I want, I could use my clip to hold it when I get down to the bottom. Now I take this last section on the bottom here. Make sure that you get all the hair gathered in your hands. Pull it in the direction of hair growth. Wait till the bottom drops out because you never cut the perimeter twice, and go from that point. Now I'm on my last section in the back. Again, taking half for the guideline as my traveling guideline moves towards the nape of the neck. It is very clear again on this side where my guideline is. I'm at the bottom of my haircut, making sure that the bottom drops out, and as soon as it does, that's where I know when to cut. From that point, I'm just going to take the whole section, pull it out, make sure that there are no hairs that are spare, and there are not. Okay, the back is completely finished and the long layers are done. I straighten out my mannequin head and take out the center mohawk parting. From this section, I know I have to connect the back and front of the hair, which I've already done in the perimeter before. So I'm going to take part of the apex crown and part of the mohawk, and I'm going to continue that line using the specific traveling guideline that I already created in the back. So we're using the back guideline for the front of the hair now. Taking section by section, combing it straight up, and making sure I'm getting a perfect line to cut using my traveling guideline. Again, drop half of the hair in the back and use the front for your guideline. See, there's my guideline right there. Cutting it straight across and dropping half. Now I'm at the front of the hair, and we have to be sure that we don't cut the perimeter twice, even in the front. So as soon as I see that bottom part drop out, right there, it just dropped. That's when I know I need to cut. And I just scoop it up again in my hands again one more time to make sure I haven't lost any spare hairs, which there's a spare hair right there, and I got that. Okay, from this point, you're gonna separate the mohawk in two complete sections, one for the left and one for the right. I'm gonna leave the right side here, the pin out, and I'm gonna comb this side down. Starting at the apex at the crown, again, I'm going to pull up the hair and reestablish my guideline, my traveling guideline. It is right there. I cut anything that's exceeding the traveling guideline in the direction of hair growth, now towards the right. Pulling it straight out, locating my guideline and cutting up to that guideline. Dropping half the hair, and now we have to do the same exact procedure. Dropping the hair when it falls out of the bottom, which it does now, and cutting straight up into meeting the guideline. Again, my bottom piece, I always go back and just double check to make sure that I have no hair sticking out, and I do not, except for that little one. Okay, I'm gonna continue taking some parts of the hair from the back, combing my hair up straight, meeting my guideline, and making a cut. Continue the same process down by pulling out in the direction of hair growth until the entire right side is done. Again, when I get to the bottom, I make sure that I drop the bottom piece so that I never ever cut the perimeter. I just drop the bottom and cut up. Perimeters are only cut once. I always pull my hair up a little to make sure I didn't miss anything, and continue. Now I'm at the front part of my hair. I take the top section and I make sure this is a nice, neat bundle of hair going straight up from the direction of hair growth, and cut it to meet the guideline. I come out to the side in the direction of hair growth and make sure that I meet my guideline without going past my second knuckle. Now I'm at the bottom in the front. I pull it down, wait for my hair to drop, and there's the drop. And now I cut everything up to that point. The right side of my haircut is done, and my layers should be perfect. At this point, I'm gonna add some water so that I have a good amount of moisture in this haircut. You always start and end a haircut the same way. If you decide to do a dry haircut, you start a dry haircut and end it dry. If you start a wet haircut, it needs to be wet throughout the entire haircut. Now, if you are right-handed, you're gonna stand on the left side of the mannequin in the front at this point. Okay, you're gonna locate from the apex your cut line again from the mohawk and from the back, and it's right there. And that's where you're going to start your haircut on the right side now. I'm sorry, on the left side. Okay, pulling it straight out in the direction of hair growth. Always making sure you're not over-directing the hair. Over-directing would mean if I took this hair that I'm cutting and pulled it towards the front or the back, I would have a variation in the length of that hair. Over-direction causes uneven haircuts. It's not a good thing to do if you're trying to get a perfectly layered haircut. Okay, so that's my first section. I usually divide my sides into 1, 2, 3 sections. Now I'm in the middle. You always want to be very neat and have a pattern when you're doing a haircut, because if you don't, you might get lost in the haircut. And you never want to get lost in your haircut. If the phone rings or something happens and you have to step away from your cut, you should be able to pick it up wherever you were last, if you remember where you mapped the head out. Okay. And this last piece, I'm pulling it straight down, waiting for it to drop, which it just did, and cutting up from the drop. Again, I go back a little up just to make sure that I got everything, which I got it. Now I'm in the last section of this haircut. I'm in the front again. So what I'm going to do is make sure that I'm grabbing the entire section of hair on the top, pulling it toward the direction of hair growth, straight up, and creating a nice angled front, because that's what we did before when we established a 0 level perimeter. Again, cutting the hair straight. And here's my very last section of the haircut. I pull it straight down in the direction of hair growth and wait till the bottom drops out. And there's the dropout right there. And cut that last piece. Now my haircut should be a perfect, layered, 45-degree haircut that's approved by New York State. How do I correct this or check it? This is considered a layered haircut, and it is done on an angle, and it's done vertically. So you always check a vertical haircut horizontally and a horizontal haircut vertically. So now what I'm gonna do, because this is layers and it was done in a 45-degree, I'm coming right into a horizontal and combing out each section to make sure that there are no hairs that are uneven. And so far, so good. Yep, the haircut is checked out. That means that this would be an example of a perfect 45.